The story that got my attention this week from all the events that we're going to be reviewing today is the timing of Adam and Eve eating from the fruit of the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. Their descendants, many generations down the road, come into the wilderness of sin. Yes, that's how we are taught to pronounce that word for that wilderness, Samak Yod Nun, sin. And it's during the same week that Adam and Eve are committing the first sin that has extreme consequences for us all. So if you're on this journey, on this ancient path, you do realize that you've been camped in a wilderness, lost roaming around in the sin of your life, even lost roaming around in the midst of a sinful, asleep, rebellious people too. Pay attention to the timing of things happening in your own life. What is Yahuwah trying to show you right now in your own walk? What instructions has he given you specifically about your own life, people, homes, and situations? His Ruach speaks to you all the time. If you're listening, are you still eating from the tree of good and evil? Is some technological device speaking to you? Everything that you're all answering all your questions? Are you asking it instead of seeking an answer from the Most High and being led by the Ruach? When you look up words like I teach my students in our academy, you'll find out that trees represent counsel. It is Yah's design and desire that you become planted as a tree of righteousness. This is in scripture, giving wise counsel, speaking his words of life, and not dispensing darkness. And as you consider your own situation this week and path, where has Yah graciously extended to you a second chance? Second opportunities to come into covenant for protection, to be passed over, because it's the time of the second Passover. Okay? That's this week. I pray that you take it and you realize what's being offered to you. You're lost in that wilderness of sin, and it's the time of the second opportunity, the second extension of protection and coming back into covenant. Test all things and pray to recognize all the ways that the enemy has been whispering into your ears the wrong message, like he did Eve. Protect your children. That's been the theme in our messages now for a few weeks, if you've been following along. And speaking of following along, we have our weekly calendar episodes that you can follow and journey with us. And we started a new journey into the book of Jubilees last couple weeks ago, actually, which I invite you to join us every week. We release a new chapter of Jubilees and discuss it. You can read about all this in the description of the video. The invitations and links are there. So let's get started on the events of week 7.
Just imagine how everything would be different if Adam and Eve had not sinned in the garden. But they did! And our Father's mercy is so endless to restore the lost and give us second chances. Did you know that the garden, the flood, second Passover, and King Hezekiah's great restart have something in common? Today we are going to connect some dots present on week 7's events through time on the biblical calendar. Please watch for the question we propose to you in the video, as we would enjoy hearing your opinion on a specific verse we are going to review. So let's get started.
Hello there, this is Joshua. I'm going to read to you the notes on week 7. We are in the 43rd day of the year, the 4th day of the week. They are counting the Omer of day 18. The next day is 2nd Pesach, and counting the Omer day 19. 2nd Pesach was created during the Exodus. Unclean men who could not keep Pesach at the appointed time in month 1 are able to keep a second one. That can be found in Numbers 9, verses 6 through 14. Those who traveled far away during the month 1 are also allowed. King Hezekiah reinstitutes Pesach. And he does this at second Pesach. They missed the first one. What happened to the Zodok priests of the time? Okay, so the children of Israel celebrated the Pesach for the first time in a very long time with great joy. In 2 Chronicles it says, Hezekiah sent to all Israel and Judah and wrote letters also to Ephraim and Manasseh, that they should come to the house of Yahuwah at Jerusalem to keep the Passover unto Yahuwah, Elohim of Israel. Has anyone else pondered how there are three groups in the above verse? We have, if Israel equals Ephraim and Manasseh, then there is no logical need to state them separately, unless they were separate somehow. We have our own ideas about this and encourage you to comment on this verse, what you have discerned. In the future, someday, Yah willing, we want to do a video on the groups of the Exodus. During the counting of the Omer, and Yah's people learning about his Shem, or name, which in Yehudiath means name, character, breath, fame, and reputation, the people are getting two examples on this day of the ability of Yah to include those who were not able to be included at the appointed times. They learned with Moses people unclean from contact with death were allowed time to mourn and then included back in. So too did King Hezekiah deal with unclean people and prayed for them. Notice that Yah accepted his words. Note that Yahusha, another king, states the following in John, which also relates to a king being able to speak words of life and restoration unto changing the state of the people. In John 15 we see, now you are clean through the word which I have spoken unto you. Counting the Omer, day 20. This is also the day that Moses and Yasharel arrive in the wilderness of Sin to camp. Sin, H5512, pronounced Sin, is spelled Samak Yod Nun. It is interesting that Sini, where they are heading, is spelled Samak Yod Nun Yod. Discussing the meaning of words and the letters to compare these names is something that will be done in the Yehudiath class. King Hezekiah and the children of Israel are keeping the Feast of Unleavened Bread, day 1. This is not the normal time of unleavened bread. This is after their second Pesach. Now, it's the Sabbath, the last day of loading the ark in 1308. Looking through time, Father is taking his people into a safe place, the ark, in order to restart his people again after the coming destruction. And Moses is leading the people away from everyone else into a wilderness to start a nation. King Hezekiah and children of Israel in Jerusalem have kept the Feast of Unleavened Bread, day 2. At the same time, King Hezekiah is restarting the keeping of the Torah and the feast to reset the nation yet again. Eve deceived by the serpent on day 22 of counting the Omer. It's the 47th day of the year. And here's the day Jubilees records as the day that started all the other stories, all the other events that would come into play because of disobedience and deception. Very interesting, the other events in the days next to this of resets and restarts. In Noah, the doors are being shut in the evening, and Yahuwah opens the 7 floodgates in the deep. This is day 1 of the flood. So, 1,300 years after Eve is deceived, after Adam and Eve are deceived, is the first day of the flood. The floodgates and windows are opened. Noah was 600 years old when the flood began. Please note that this verse does not say this was Noah's birthday. It is simply mentioning how old he was when this started. Some people read into the text that's just not there. In year 2, the earth is now dry, post-flood, the same day the flood started. A year later, the earth has dried out from the flood that started a year earlier to the same day. The divided kingdom. King Hezekiah and the children of Israel in Jerusalem keep the Feast of Unleavened Bread, day 3. Notice that the second Pesach and unleavened bread time period is occurring during the greatest deception and act of disobedience to really occur in Scripture, that of Eve being deceived by the serpent. If she had not been, and Adam had not eaten, this entire story would be so different. Is this not Yah showing us that through keeping the Pesach, obeying his firstborn son of Yahusha, whom Moses said you must obey and follow, keeping the instructions of Yahusha, to beware the leaven of the Pharisees, to realize your bread could be polluted, that when we do these things, we can be spared and do a restart in our own life to avoid being deceived. Look at how during the worst things that happened in the past, the fall from the garden, flooding of the earth through time, Moses is raised to deliver people, and Hezekiah, whose name means strength, grow firm with Yahoo, is restoring worship and restarting things yet again. Omer, day 23. This would be the 18th day of the second month. It's day 2 of the flood. King Hezekiah and the children of Israel in Jerusalem are keeping unleavened bread, day 4. The next day is counting the Omer, day 3 of the flood. And also, King Hezekiah and children of Israel are on day 5 of unleavened bread in the second month.
If you are enjoying this video, please click like and leave us a comment on what you're enjoying. It will really help this video to be shown to more people. It really does matter. If you are taking a lot of notes, I invite you to join our community. The links are in the descriptions because our members have access to our PDF file research, just like you are enjoying right now.
Okay, now we're going to go back and talk about pronunciation of words. What I meant by going back was sin instead of sin or Sinai. Part of my issues with learning Yehudiyth is the inconsistency of vowels. You know how they say, oh, there are no vowels in Hebrew. Well, that's a big lie. Even Josephus said the priests have Father's name on their bands, on their forehead, and it is 4 vowels. E, A, U, A. You can't go from E to A without that Y sound in between. It happens naturally. Ya, ya, when you run them together. And then when you do the same with the last 2 letters, the W comes naturally. U-ah, ua, ua, ua. Yahweh, which then, when written in English, becomes Yahweh, with the Y making the E sound. So I want to point out how even with speaking, tradition and habit tries to rule us. In English, on many a night, millions of people call and order a pizza for supper. Now, how many of us really say pizza and not pizza? We know how to write it, but not say it. Now, I am sure you can think of more English words we do that with, but what I want to point out is modern Hebrew with its Yiddish and Arabic influences is loaded with examples like this. The aleph is a vowel, the yod, the vav, the hey is given a vowel sound of ah. Ayin is anything from e, I, or o, seemingly no given pattern. And then there is the pronunciation of letters that are not even there, adding ah to half the words they say when it is not there. David is actually Dude. The tribe of Levi is actually Louis. If you try to pronounce correctly when in a group of people, they don't know what you are saying. But when you start learning the original language, you start looking for what is important. Where are the words that are not interpreted correctly? Where does it say something different from the English? And that is why we are so interested. I am absolutely thrilled when I read a verse and the Ruach says no, just don't feel right. and I go to my wife and ask her to read it, and when she does, is just amazed when it is different. Admittedly, it is my brilliant wife doing the heavy lifting and learning of Yehudia. I am along for the ride in that respect. And because Father's word says to learn his language. Where? Well, I can't steal her thunder. That's all for this week. Thank you for watching. Shalom.
For watching this weekly calendar episode with your precious time. I invite you to explore our online store. We sell the ancient style of handcrafted pegboards made for us modern-day folks by my husband. Our customers have the same experience we do of tracking time and better understanding how the calendar works. It's actually simple, and our calendars really do help even kids get this. We have kitchen magnets this year with the Moediym feast schedule and the Gregorian dates on it for easy reference. Our channel has grown now into 2 as the Yehudia's Paleo Hebrew online courses are growing. Our teaching is not like anything out there that I've seen. I have left a link in the description to our website and our new channel for you to explore. If you really want to dig into the ancient language and discern truth, you owe it to yourself to explore this. Read the testimonials on our website because they speak volumes. May Yah Elohim greatly bless you this week and keep you as the apple of his eye as you seek his kingdom and walk in his ways. Shalom.
Body all the time, never takes a break, he's always right.